Welcome to the Rewild Gear Podcast. Modern life, society, and responsibilities have domesticated us. But now it's time to rediscover your adventurous side. Whether that's camping, hiking, hunting, fishing, or just spending time in the great outdoors, this is the podcast for you. Join us as we get back to the wilderness and rewild. Welcome to the Adventure Made podcast, brought to you by Rewild Gear. I'm your host, Seth Spears, and I'm here today with Patrick Rollins. Patrick is the lead instructor for Randall's Adventure and Training, as well as part of the team at Essie Knives, one of my personal favorite knife companies. He developed his enthusiasm for the outdoors from an early age, growing up camping, hunting, fishing, and a member of the Boy Scouts, before spending 19 years as a sheriff's deputy in Whitfield County, Georgia. Since then, he has taught numerous classes in the U.S. and in the Amazon jungles of Peru. And we're going to dig into a whole lot of this in a few minutes here. Randall's Adventure and Training teaches survival, bushcraft, land navigation, basic human tracking, single rope techniques, rope rescue, K-rescue, wilderness first responder, and search and rescue classes. Patrick is certified as a first responder, firearms instructor, Glock Armorer, rope rescue technician, Swiftwater Rescue Technician, and wilderness first responder. He has many hours of training in various skill sets, including woodland operations, wilderness survival training, land navigation, and tracking. He's been a law enforcement instructor since 2001 and served on the Whitfield County Sheriff's Office Special Response Team, entry and sniper from 2001 to 2004. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Seth.
Yeah, super. This is going to be fun. You know, I've been a fan of Essie Knives and Randall's Adventure and Training for a long time. And so super excited to have you on the show and to kind of dig into your experience and background and some of the adventures that you've had and been a part of over the years, and maybe get into some of the technical things when it comes to knives and equipment and stuff like that too.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, super. Okay. Patrick, just to start, give us a little bit of your background story. How did you get to where you are?
Like you said in the intro, just grew up loving the outdoors, camping, getting outside every chance I could. Growing up a child, of the 80s, all the movies like Red Dawn, First Blood, Predator, and all those were real big. And so we get outside and play and try to recreate some of the stuff you saw. And it just went from there. It grew and grew and just, loved getting out, trying to figure out ways to start fire and building shelters and stuff like that. And then just fortunate enough to be able to do it for a living now.
That's fantastic. And so as part of that, I know you're big into bushcrafting and some of the survival courses and all that fun stuff. Would you consider yourself a survivalist or a bushcrafter or an instructor? How would you define yourself in that?
I would say like a jack of all trades. I love the survival aspect, and that's where my love, initially grew from. And then when you get into bushcraft, you get into more primitive skills and primitive living techniques that a lot of indigenous people are still using today. And just all of it, as a whole, just enjoy it all. And it's fun and teaching people stuff they're not familiar with, and just, seeing the excitement on their face, when they learn new skills and watch them grow from there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And obviously bushcrafting has developed a huge following in recent years. And I'm not sure totally the reason for it. I just kind of this renewed sense of reconnecting with nature and getting in touch with some of those skills that we've lost touch with. But how would you personally define bushcraft for someone that is not familiar with that term or what that is?
Survival is more about just continuing to live, in its most basic form, doing what you have to as far as getting fire, getting shelter, signaling, those type skills. Bushcraft is more about, I don't want to say, becoming one with nature, but it's being able to get by with less. You may have heard the more you know, the less you'll carry, that kind of thing. So yeah. The more skills you pick up, the less stuff you have to carry with you to be comfortable, when you're out camping or doing whatever.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. So as far as if someone is new to bushcrafting and they're like, oh, that sounds interesting. I want to carve a spoon or learn to start fire with a bow drill or something like that. Where do you recommend people start?
If there's not a school close by for you to attend a class, man, there's tons of info on YouTube. There's a lot of good channels on there. People doing all kinds of, bushcraft skills and teaching and instructing and, doing a lot of stuff on their own. Even if they don't have a school, there's a lot of good channels showing these skills. And, some of the stuff that I teach now, I may have seen in a video several years ago. And me and the other instructors that assist, we're always big on giving credit where credit's due. If we see something on a YouTube channel, if we go to try to, teach it or whatever, we tell the people where we saw it. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, so much information, and both good and bad info. And
Right.
I think when someone is really starting to dig into, the outdoor space and getting into primitive skill sets and survivalism and all of that, how do you decipher between what information is good, credible, and actually works versus someone that doesn't know what they're talking about and they're just making it up as they go? Because, we've all seen that on YouTube and everything else where people are giving advice, but they don't have any real world practical experience with it.
The biggest thing for me, if you see something in a video and you want to try to learn it or try to do it, go outside and try to recreate it. See if it's going to work. If you see a video where a guy holds a bottle of water and focuses sunlight to start a fire, like on you might see that on TV or something like that. Go out and try it. It does work. It requires a long amount of time and a lot of patience. So just get out and try it. See if you're able to make fire doing or make a shelter. And if you build a shelter a certain way, spend a couple of nights in it. Not necessarily when it's good weather, but do it when it's bad weather, and see if it's going to shed water like it's supposed to, or whatever it is you're trying to learn.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great advice. Tell me a little bit about Randall's Adventure and Training, how that got started, how you came to get involved with that, and some of the courses and training that you guys offer.
Okay. Back in the late 90s, my bosses, Jeff Randall and Mike Perrin, that's the co-owners of Essie Knives and Randall's Adventure and Training, they went on a trip to the Amazon jungle through a mutual friend, and that person was taking clients from the States down there and putting them in touch with the Peruvian Air Force, survival instructors, who would put them through about a 6-7 day class, through their jungle class that they were teaching to the military. And so Jeff and Mike kind of took that over and started bringing students down there to go through that class. And the more they did that, the more they saw that the knives and gear that they were taking down there, they weren't happy with it, didn't perform like it was supposed to, or that sort of thing. So they started coming up with their own designs, their own knife designs, and getting different custom makers to make them on a small scale. And then that grew to where Ontario Knife Works was making the knives for a while. And now we're with Rowan Manufacturing out of Idaho Falls. And that's just grown and grown and grown. And so we were a training company first. The Randall's Adventure and Training came about first before, it progressed into the knife side of the deal. How I came in contact with them, I was working night shift at the sheriff's office, and there was a brigade quartermaster catalog. You may remember that catalog floating around in the squad room. And so I was flipping through it, looking at knives. All guys seem to like knives, and came across the Rat 3, the Rat 5, and the RTAC 2, and saw these guys had written a book, Adventure Travel in the Third World, by Jeff Randall and Mike Perrin, and the more I read about it, the more interested I got. So Googled them, tried to find out what I could. They had an old forum, the old jungle training forum, and it had pictures from classes, a few classes they had done, and I saw where they had a class coming up in Fort Payne, Alabama. That was a 5-day woodland operations class. And that sounded enough like a law enforcement class that I was able to talk to the sheriff's office and allow me to have the time off, to go attend. And it covered basic survival, basic human tracking, a little bit of land nav, a little bit of ropes. But it was just an absolute blast. I had the time of my life and was surprised to see that there's actually places that you can take classes like that. All this fun stuff that I love doing. And, here it is, and it's only 2 hours away. I was able to, take a class there. Took the class, loved it. Became good friends with one of the guys helping Jeff, Jimmy Dunn. He taught the tracking portion and some of the survival. Started doing a few camping, backpacking trips with him. And within a year, got asked to start coming back and helping out with the classes in Fort Payne. And so I would take time off from the sheriff's office to go, help teach, the woodland operations class. Did that a couple of times and then got asked to start coming and helping down in the Amazon, down in Peru in the jungle survival class. Started doing that in maybe the fall of 2012. I was at Jeff's house picking up the GPS and the satellite phone. I was going to be taking my first class down to the Amazon without either one of them. It was kind of like graduation. You'll now be the one teaching down there. And Jeff asked me. Jeff asked me what I make a year, for the sheriff's office, and I told him, and he said if we were to pay you that year round to teach classes, schedule classes, go to the trade shows, SHOT Show and Blade Show, and all that, would you be interested? And I said, man, I'd jerk your arm off. And so came on full time in January of 2013, and it's kind of cliche, but you hear, if you find work doing what you love, find a job doing what you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life, and that's basically what it seemed like ever since. Even on the hardest, longest, most difficult class or whatever we're doing, it's never seemed like work. So I feel very, very fortunate to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I totally agree with that. Yeah, if you find something that you love and just do it all the time, I mean, that can be a lot of fun. Although you got to be careful so it doesn't turn into a job and then you end up hating the thing that you're passionate about too. So trying to find that balance there can be tough. I've experienced that a little bit over the years, so I know how that is. Which side of the company do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy the training side and the courses and the classes that you lead, or kind of like the knife and the production and the creativity of design? Because I know you designed a few knives yourself.
I love them both. It's kind of a good blend. The training takes up the majority of my time, doing the teaching the classes and being a part of different classes and stuff. I don't have a whole lot to do with the product side other than testing, evaluation, stuff like that. And the trade shows like SHOT Show, Blade Show, anything like that, I'm of course a part of. So that's like a good break from the training to be able to meet with our fans and meet with the people that use our products and just talk to them and what they like and what they like about the different knives and what they don't like, and they're always hitting us up for have you ever thought about doing this, what do you think if about this? And so it's just great communicating with our customers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you really have a built-in mechanism to test the gear and the equipment and see what works and what doesn't, and really put it through its paces with all the training.
That's one of the big differences between us and a lot of the knife companies out there is, we're out there constantly, using our stuff in real world, environment. And instead of just, coming up with designs in the drawing room and just putting it out there without it ever being tested or tried out.
Yeah. Definitely. And so part of that, because I know you guys have been really big on 1095 steel and focusing on that because how hard and tough it is and everything. But you've recently started making some knives with some different steels like S35VN. I think maybe another one as well. Can you talk about that a little bit as far as, your reasons for preferring 1095, or has that changed and what that process is like?
Sure. Yeah, we did. We had a couple of models out in 440C. People were asking for that live in coastal environments, and they were, wanting the anti-corrosion properties of stainless steel. And so, we had the Azula in 440C and the SE4 in 440C. And then people started asking for, other steels. There's a lot of knife fanatics out there, and they know what they like, and they would just,
I'm one of them.
asking for, S35. They kept asking for S35VN. Me personally, I didn't know. I just mainly used 1095. That's once I started with the company, I just fell in love with 1095. It does what I want it to. It's very durable. It's easy to touch up in the field, and on some of these classes where we might be out for 5-6 days, that's great. Not having to have specialized equipment just to bring the edge back. And so when we came out with the S35VN SE3, I wanted to bring one home and just really, just put it through its paces, just because I wasn't familiar with the steel. The edge retention is way better than 1095.
Yeah.
I'll say that right off the bat. I did all sorts of stuff that I've done with our regular SE3s. I was making fuzz sticks, a tri-stick, cutting rope, batoning, and that just kept on and on and on, and the edge it never got any duller. It just never felt any duller. And then I, just continued with the batoning almost, almost considered abuse. Just I had some just twisted, dried hickory and red oak, and just
Sure.
pounding it through it, and eventually it broke, which any knife will break. But for me personally, I just love the just being able to the easy to sharpen, 1095.
Got
But what I've said in videos, and interviews before, if you want a knife that's not going to rust as bad, or if at all, and retain its edge for a long, long time, then get the S35 and just don't abuse it. Just use it to do knife stuff. Don't get crazy with it, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And how have those new S35VN knives sold compared to the 1095?
They're doing really well. That one that I was testing, when it broke, we kind of had a moment of pause because we're just now releasing this, and right off the bat, I broke one. But I was out in Idaho.
I remember seeing the video.
Yeah, I was out in Idaho this past week. We had the Idaho Bushcraft class, and I was talking to Sean Rowan, our manufacturer, about the S35VN, and he said he hadn't had any sent back. And so there's a lot out there, and nobody's broken one yet. And that's not a challenge, so nobody take that the wrong way. But if you use it like you should
That
use
one's
it,
accepted.
yeah, if you use it like you should use a knife, it'll be fine. It'll last a long, long time. But if it does break on you, send it in. We'll replace it.
Of course. Yeah, that's great. Great. You guys have such a fantastic warranty too. And I think, as product manufacturers and knife designers and all that, we can be a lot harder on our equipment because we're testing it out and want to push the limits and really see what it can do, which is good because the average consumer, the average user is probably not going to be pushing it to quite those extremes.
Oh yeah, we appreciate all of our customers, whether they're buying it to put in a safe or a drawer, or getting it out to buying one to use it every day. We love to see our stuff get used.
Yeah.
Occasionally, we do see some get abused and sent in, and we'll still warranty it. But we just love people, seeing people use our stuff for what it was intended for.
Yeah, totally. I know, like on Instagram, I've seen the hashtag beater Essie for people that are just using and abusing them. Those are always pretty cool to see.
Oh yeah. That over time, the powder coat will get marked up and start to wear off, and some people are concerned about that when they're purchasing the knife or looking at them at a show. And but just if it gets wet, wipe it off. If it gets dirty, clean it. I'm probably the world's worst as far as taking care of the oiling the edge or oiling the blade, and worrying about rust and stuff. I don't worry about that, but I am fortunate enough I get to use them all the time, and so that rust comes off when you use it again. But
Sure.
for the most part, I'll just wipe it on my pants leg and put it back in the sheath and not worry about it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. What is your personal favorite style of knife? I feel like knives are so personal to us, and as far as the way we want to use, the way we use it, how we use that in the field, and everyone kind of has their own style that they like based on their own use cases. So, what is your personal favorite?
For me personally, I love like a spear point, 3 to 4 inch blade, no thicker than 1/8 of an inch. You see a lot of trends in the knife world these days where everything's getting thicker, longer, and it's getting like saw teeth and stuff added to it. Tanto point, and the more stuff you do to the knife, it's never going to saw as good as a saw. No matter how big you make it, it's never going to chop as good as an axe. And now that you've done all this to it, it's not going to do standard knife tasks near as well. I see them in classes, all the time. A new student will show up with a great big chopper, and we'll quickly see, man, I should have brought a smaller knife, to do a lot of this stuff. And when they come back, they usually have a smaller knife, and when they come back again, it's even smaller. And just see people, learn that what they need. People, a lot of companies will tell you what they think you need, or they'll try to push stuff on you, and we don't do that. We've got a wide range, everything from small, up to from like the CR 2.5 or the Kangaroo, all the way up to like a hungless or machete, big chopper, and we'll sell you whatever you want. But if you ask, we may ask, well, what do you see yourself using it for? What's the main purpose that you're getting it? And then we'll try to guide people, like that, instead of just trying to push the biggest, most expensive on them.
Sure. Do you remember back like 20, 30 years ago, all those survival knives that were super popular? They had like the screw top pommel where it had like a fishing kit and a compass on the end, and it had serrations on one side. And it was just like, it was kind of this Rambo style knife that everybody had them, everybody loved them. But, it was kind of like a jack of all trade, master of none. And they were just really bad at doing anything, but they were a cool concept.
I had a black one, and my brother had the camouflage one, and it was great at the time. But I mean, it's worthless. Looking back, it's just a little nut holding the blade on the handle, and that big bulbous compass, and just a steel that you could never sharpen. I mean, you could never get that thing to take an edge or
Yeah.
hold an edge. But yeah, I think a bunch of us had them. But for a lot of people,
Super gimmicky.
oh yeah, yeah. But they sold a ton of them. But
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know what a good knife is, and I was in the same boat. Before I came across Essie knives. You can buy knives at Walmart. You can buy them at a pawn shop, and you think, well, that's a cool looking knife. But until you actually hold and use and own, a good one, you don't really realize what's out there. And I think that's where a lot of people are at. They may see one of our knives that sells for maybe $100, and they're like, "Man, I could go buy 4 or 5 knives at Walmart, for that price." Yeah, you could, but the quality's not there. So
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree there. It's really interesting to me. It seems like there's different segments of the knife market where you got guys that they just want something cheap and just get in, go to Walmart, whatever, buy it. Then they're going to use it and abuse it, and then they'll just buy another one. Then when you go to like Blade Show, which we were both at a few weeks ago, and you see that the average knife price is like $300 or something, you're like, whoa, these are expensive knives. So it's like there's these extremes of them. And I just wonder, are those that are so much more expensive, are they actually getting much use, or are people just buying them as collector's items and they're kind of sitting in the safe or on a bookshelf or something? And I'm not sure. And where's that sweet spot as far as the price point goes, and what's, something that you got great quality, great value, but it's not so expensive that it's going to price it out of the market for people.
just at a guess, I would say the majority of the high end knives like that probably aren't getting used that much. It just depends. The average person with the average income be real hesitant to go out and spend that much money, on a really nice knife, a nice custom knife or whatever, and then go use it like they might use one of ours. Justifiably so. You're afraid, if you lose it or damage it, break it, something like that, and depending on what their warranty is, you might just be out $300. Um, so we try to, we consider ourselves kind of middle of the road. I know Shane, our marketing director, he likes to refer to us as the Glock of knives. It works. It's not the prettiest, not the most expensive, but it will work, and it'll be there for you. So that's kind of where we see ourselves.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. I like that. Tell me about, you mentioned the powder coating earlier. And, that can be a matter of contention for some people, especially if you're doing more bushcrafting and you're trying to scrape a ferro rod. Because obviously with the powder coat and kind of the rounded spine, it's hard to do that. And you guys also typically don't have like a notch cut out for that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Um, they initially started powder coating the knives, according to Jeff and Mike, because people just don't know how to take care of a knife. And so if it was just uncoated 1095, they're going to rust. It's going to rust. So that's why they started powder coating. A lot of people, I'd seen this on the internet and at classes and stuff. A lot of people were stripping the powder coat off and putting a 90-degree spine on the knife, with a belt sander or a file, just putting that 90-degree spine so it would strike a ferro rod. And, I've done it. I've done that with a couple just to see, how it turned out or whatever. Any sharp edge will strike a ferro rod. So like a piece of glass, a rock, anything with a sharp edge. In an emergency situation with a powder coated knife, you could just use the edge. But, if you're just lighting fires in your backyard on a regular basis, eventually that edge is going to start to roll. And so that's why when we were coming out with what was called the Camp Lore line, the JG3, the RB3, the PR4, and the CR 2.5. When we started coming out with these, those are all uncoated and have the 90-degree spine. Um, and that was just for the folks that, that like using the spine of the knife, to strike the ferrule rod. Truth be known, most ferrule rods come with a striker. But it's, I'm right there with them as far as, it's fun to use the spine of your knife to strike the rod with. So I understand completely.
Yeah, totally. What do you feel is the best knife that SE makes? I know that might be like asking who's your favorite kid.
Well, if you look solely at numbers, as far as serial numbers, the numbers sold, the Azula is still, the hands down winner. We're up over 100,000 of them sold.
Wow.
A couple reasons for that. It's smaller. You can wear, slip it in your pocket or drop it in a backpack. It's not going to intimidate anybody if they saw it. If you're at a work job, at a job or a work site, and you pull that out to perform a task or whatever, they're not going to flip out on you as much. And it's, you could probably shop around and get one for, $50-$60, so it's also very affordable and, and, can handle a wide variety of common knife tasks.
Yeah. That's interesting. I would not have guessed that is the most popular. My guess would have been more like the SE3 or the 4, just based on what to me seems more versatile.
Yeah, the 3 and 4, the serial numbers, they're up there, pretty high. We've sold quite a few of them, but the Azula, still in the lead. I've seen, people carrying the 3 in their pocket, in the sheath in their pocket. But the Azula, it slips in there, a little bit easier and not as bulky. So, you could work at a bank and have that in your pocket and nobody would know. So,
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And what's your personal favorite of all of the ones you guys carry?
I'm fortunate enough to get to use them all at a regular basis, and it would be really hard to pick one out. Probably my favorite, as far as all around comfort and use, is the 3HM. We took the standard SE3, and people were asking for no choil. They were asking to get rid of the jimping on the back of the spine and to get rounder, more contoured scales. And so when we came up with that, the first time I held it, I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. 3-inch blade. It's 1/8 thick, 1/8 of an inch thick. And so the first one I got, I did what a lot of people do: strip the coating off and put a 90-degree spine on it, and called it good.
Gotcha. Yeah. And how has the response been to those contoured handles? Because I know for a long time you guys just had the flat micarta handles. So I know you've kind of switched over to some of the contoured G10 ones.
That's been really huge. People are really enjoying the feel of it and the look of it. The different colors that they're coming out with, for the different knives, and we're very pleased on how it's doing. A lot of people that already have our knives are now going out and buying those. Just for the comfort and the contoured scales, and so even though they may already own a couple of SE3s, well, now they're going out and buying a couple more. So, and we'll greatly appreciate that also.
Yeah, of course. I feel like it's when you find a company that you like, people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And when you've purchased a product and you find that it works really well, it's high quality and you can trust it, great warranty and all that, it makes sense to buy additional ones from them. I mean, I don't think I have every knife you guys make, but quite a few of them anyway. And just, they're great all around knives.
I understand completely. Before I came to work for them, I was, just as bad. I went to Brigade Quartermaster store down in Kennesaw, after looking at that catalog, and all they had was an old Rat 3 with the partially serrated blade, which wasn't what I wanted. But I went ahead and bought it, and tried to get by with leaving the serrations alone for a while, and then couldn't take it anymore. So I filed those down and turned it into just a plain edge, and that's where it started for me. And after that, I bought several. I spent quite a bit of money buying this one and that one, and before I make a joke that it's so addictive that I was spending so much money I had to get a job with them, to keep from from having to buy it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's easy to do, especially when you find something that you really enjoy and you're like, oh, I want all the gear, and just start collecting all of it. Yeah. What are some of the future plans for SE as far as new product lines, new knife designs, all of that?
We've got a lot of stuff on the back burner right now. the biggest thing now is just keeping up with production demands. The company's growing, and sales have been great. Like 2020 was a very probably our best year so far, and I think a big
Yeah.
part of that was people were stuck at home, and surfing the internet, and so knife sales are up. Just like a lot of stuff when there's any kind of turmoil in the world, gun sales and knife sales are greatly increased.
Yep.
So right now we're just looking to try to we probably won't have anything new coming out for maybe another show or two. We've got some stuff that's close, ready to be released. But the biggest thing, when I was up at the shop talking to the Rollins, the biggest thing is just keeping up with production.
Yeah, totally.
Production demand.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, it seems like whenever there is, especially political upheaval or unrest or election years and everything last year with COVID and all that, where, who knows what's going to happen. It's kind of the whole preparation, survival mindset where people just want to hunker down and try to have some stability and control is in a very uncertain world,
Yeah, I think that was a big part of the spike in sales is, a lot of people, like you said, are more interested in, what if we don't go back to work, or what if this happens or that happens, or, the civil unrest, and wanting to have just some food stockpiled and some gear and just in case type items. And I think, that, helped drive sales up last year.
Yeah, for sure. Can definitely see that. And I'm guessing that affected some of the courses as well. Obviously, with all the shutdowns and stuff, probably some of the training and courses didn't happen. But how has that affected since reopening?
So we, starting around March, our regular, open enrollment type classes that, anybody could take, all of those we had to push back later in the year. We continued to teach classes with public safety groups, teaching some of the search and rescue classes, at some of the different agencies. And so we stayed busy, but just the regular classes we do at the farm or at Jeff's property, those got pushed back. And we started back probably with those in August. And since August of last year, we haven't slowed down at all. I mean, it's just been wide open. We're seeing records class sizes, where a normal class, we might have 10 or 12 students. Nowadays, that 10 or 12 is turning into, 17, 18, 19 students. Just people wanting to get out and learn and get out, get outside and can train and just learn as much as they can. And people seem to be just, thrilled to be able to get back out and do stuff again. So that's really, been filling classes here lately.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let me ask you a logistical question. And this is something that I think about when it comes to courses and being out in the woods, especially in the summer and early fall. How do you deal with all the ticks? Because obviously, in the South and on the East Coast and everything, there are ticks everywhere. And with the prevalence of Lyme disease and alpha-gal and everything just becoming more and more common, what do you do about that?
Some type of bug repellent, just really spray, we'll be outside, throughout these classes, and we always have some in the classroom if students don't have any, if they haven't brought any, but, just really, spray my boots and pants legs down and waistline. That's usually where I'll pick up ticks is, they'll either come up, climb up your boot, up your sock, onto your leg, or, I seem to, around the waistline, they'll crawl up your pants and then, where you get up under your shirt and be, they'll attach there. Yeah, you're right. It's just the ticks seem more prevalent, more and more prevalent each year. So, just some type of spray. Some of the guys will spray their clothing or gear down with I can't pronounce it. Permethrin.
Yeah, I know.
Permethrin.
Yep.
And but I haven't fooled with that. Just basically just whatever off or any other bug repellent, something like that.
Have you found that to work pretty well?
Yeah, it seems to. We have our own search and rescue team also, and so we've been doing a lot of call outs, lately. And one of the long extended ones we were doing just a few weeks ago, a lot of ticks, and I had sprayed myself down really well, and just never had to, would find one or two here and there, but they weren't attached yet. Usually, I'll find two or three that have already attached, but so just good use of the bug spray and just being, before you head out, spray it down with it, and it seems to work real good.
Yeah, makes sense. Got to take those precautions because those buggers are not fun, little bastards. Patrick, going back to what we were talking about as far as how things have grown just over the past year and stuff in the outdoor space, and with whenever there is uncertainty and things like that, there's so many companies in the outdoor space, the knife space, survival, all of these overlapping industries. And the quality can vary greatly depending on who it is, where it's made, and all that. Do you feel like there's too many companies now? There's either too much competition, or the quality level is not where it should be?
Um, as far as you talk gear or training?
Yeah, more gear, but we can get in the training side too.
Okay, no,
Let's talk about both.
yeah. I think there's enough knife enthusiasts out there for all the companies. You see that with some of the crowds at Blade Show. Some people may be all about collecting, the cheaper $15-$20 knives, or have a huge collection of the cheaper stuff, as much as the guy that's out buying, the $400 or $500 customs. I think there's a wide range of people that with different levels of affordability and what they can afford to purchase. As far as quality, it just depends on how much you're going to be using it or how hard you're going to be using it. I've seen some really cheaply made and cheap to purchase knives that looked really good. Some of the stuff you see, made overseas, it looks great. But if it's just going to be sitting in a drawer on a table or hanging on the wall, that's fine. But if you're going to be out trying to use it, it's probably not going to hold up that good.
Yeah,
So it just depends on what the final use, what the final intention is for.
that makes sense. And what about as far as the survival courses go?
I think there's a lot out there right now. Not knocking anybody, that's, as long as it's good information and they're not putting out anything, that could cause somebody any harm or put them at risk or anything like that. Um, the more widespread it is, the better. You just have to do your research and try to, find some other folks that have taken a class from a certain place or whatever, and just get feedback from them, and just do as much research as you can. Just kind of feel them out and just see if it's for you. The way I look at training and taking classes is, if I go take a class and I pick up just one or two tidbits of information that I didn't know beforehand, for me, that's worth it. You know, don't expect for everything you see to be, the newest and greatest way to do something or whatever. A lot of the stuff that we're teaching, and it's been done for hundreds and hundreds of years. You're not reinventing the wheel. There's just different ways of looking at stuff and different techniques that you can pick up along the way. So if you can find a class somewhere and learn just one or two things, then it ought to be worth it for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. On that note, do you feel like there are certain courses that everyone should take as far as just basic skills, whether that's one that Randall's Adventure and Training teaches, or any type of outdoor survival primitive skills course or class that would just be good for everyone to have just in their own knowledge bank?
I think any class, if someone has no experience and is going to be doing a lot of stuff in the outdoors, basic knowledge of using knives and tools, how to use a knife safely, how to use a folding saw, anything like that you might be using, whether they're going camping or backpacking or something like that. Just the basics of it. How to start a fire. Very important. Everybody that does anything outdoors should have fire making down pretty well. It could keep you alive. If the weather turned bad and you were stuck there overnight, being able to stay warm might play a big role in that. Being able to signal. Been several case studies where a person was lost and they came close to finding them, and if they would have just had a big fire going, it greatly would have helped rescue personnel in locating them. Just basic stuff. How to set up a tent. How to set up a tent. How to hang their hammock. A lot of people that are wanting to get out more and do more stuff and go camping and hiking and backpacking and stuff, but they don't really know where to start. So just a good basic skills. How to go use the bathroom in the woods. There's people that don't have a clue how to do that, and it's stuff that, our grandparents and great grandparents, and the further back you go, I mean, it was just everyday stuff. They were making fires every day. They were using knives. They were using tools, axes, saws every day. And the more technologically advanced we get, you see people just getting away from that. And, there's probably grown men that have never used a knife for anything, or never split wood with an axe, or made a fire outside, and we're going to see more and more of that as we progress.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it. Technology just keeps rolling on, and it seems like we're getting away from a lot of those things.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick, do you have a favorite class to teach?
I really love the Bushcraft classes we do. James Gibson, a fellow instructor, he comes on. We use him part time to help with the Bushcraft class. James been in the Bushcraft primitive skills for a long time, and just a joy to be around. And that class is laid back. It's all just learning the skills. Some of our other classes are a little more intense as far as like our 3-day field survival class. It's a lot tougher because we're trying to recreate what you would be going through in a real scenario. The sleep deprivation, the hunger, the physical stress, the mental stress. We try to really pack all that into that class, where the Bushcraft class is just laid back, sitting around a fire, learning the skills, and just learning as a group. And it's just a lot of fun. The field survival is fun too, but people were really pushed, going through that one, seeing, a lot of the skills that a lot of it you could learn just by watching videos or whatever. Some of the stuff that's taught, like the knife skills and the fire making and shelter making and stuff like that. But with the field survival class, they're learning all the skills, and then they're having to put them into practice, throughout the night with different, team challenges and, different stuff like that, just to keep them busy and keep them moving. And I tell people, just one foot in front of the other. Yeah, this sucks. This is terrible now, but when the class is over, you'll look back on it, you'll really appreciate it, and just, seeing how your body performs. Can I figure out how to land nav and use map and compass when I haven't slept, in 2 days, that kind of thing. And it's just a real eye opener for a lot of people. But people keep signing up for it. They love it. Love pushing themselves and seeing how they do. So, but for me, the Bushcraft class, I just love working with James and just, the whole aspect of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. It seems like there's an element of the philosophy of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to this.
That's the biggest part of it. We talk about, pushing your boundaries or expanding, your boundaries when it comes to stuff. I've had a student sign up for a class, and the Amazon, jungle survival class, that had never camped. He had never spent his first night spent outdoors was in the Amazon jungle in a swamp bed, that he built. And I told him, before we started the class, I said, my hat's off to you. You're jumping into it with both feet, but you're not coming in here with any preconceived ideas, or this is how we always did it in the military, or this is how, granddad said I had to do it, or whatever. He was coming in with an open mind, just a clean slate, and he did fine. So a lot of the classes that we do help people, expand, their comfort level, and getting, being able to spend a rough night in the woods. That's a lot of the classes that we'll teach are the basics, getting somebody ready to do that. Like if they're out hunting, or hiking or whatever, and they're going to be stuck out overnight because of weather, or whatever, just being able to make it through that rough night, take the steps you need to, get you a shelter. If you don't have anything with you, get you a shelter built, get you a fire made, and still be alive come morning. That's the big part of them.
Yeah. No, that's good info. So one of the things we like to talk about on the show is conservation and living in a harmonious and kind of symbiotic relationship with nature. Is SE or Randall's doing anything on the conservation side to really kind of help push that envelope? Because obviously, we're losing some of those wild spaces, whether that's with urban sprawl or with some of the pesticides we're spraying that are killing insects and things like that, because there's, this whole life cycle and all of that. Can you speak to that at all?
Not a whole lot. I don't really know of anything as a company that we might be doing as far as conservation. I know with the Rollins do a lot of recycling, when they laser out the knife blades, or anything that's not up to par or whatever, all the steel gets recycled. And I know, so, at the shop, they seem to be on the ball as far as not trying to cut back on waste and that sort of thing. So, as far as anything other than that, I don't know of anything.
Gotcha. Okay. An organization that we've associated ourselves with is 2% for Conservation, and they certify different brands and companies as far as that have dedicated, 2% of their time and resources to conservation efforts, and that can be in a lot of different ways. That's a company you might want to check into, just because it's so important as far as to focus on those things, because we love nature. We love the outdoors and the wilderness and being able to spend time there. And, if we don't protect it, there's just so many infringements upon that, and we're going to lose it and stuff. So it's really scary as far as what could happen. Keep polluting, whether that's our waterways, our soil, and all that. Patrick, what's your most memorable outdoor experience, and what did you learn from that?
I've had several, growing up. You learn from your mistakes, and I don't consider myself an expert in anything at all. But if you make tons of mistakes and you learn from them, you're going to learn quite a bit. So there were several nights growing up as a kid, with friends, with a buddy of mine. Let's go out into the woods and let's make a fire and stay out overnight. And so you're laying there on the cold ground. You don't, no sleeping bag. You don't try to insulate yourself from the ground, and you lay there and shiver all night, and so that'll stick with you. And you make these mistakes, and you learn you don't want to make them again. But probably one of the most memorable experiences I've had is my first trip down to the Amazon jungle. I'd done all sorts of stuff here in the southeast of the U.S., camping, hiking, backpacking, the whole 9 yards. Go down to the Amazon jungle to assist with a class that first time. And, I live in Georgia, and most of our classes are in Alabama. It's hot and it's humid during the summertime. But that down there was a whole new level. Heat and humidity, bugs like you wouldn't believe. You look down at the ground, and the ground's moving because of the amount of insects. And so, just that first jungle class was just a real eye opener of, almost like, okay, there's levels, there's levels to this outdoor game. But, within a day or two, you're used to it, and, getting bug bits, no big deal. And, it's just, you just get used to it. And so by the end of the class, loving it, can't wait to come back. And then each trip down there has been like that. Just a fun place to visit.
Yeah. It's funny how adaptable we can be if we just kind of let go and dig in,
Absolutely.
Is there a life lesson that nature and the outdoors has taught you over the years?
I'd say the biggest thing is just be adaptable. Be able to to adapt to change. Like we mentioned earlier, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's not. There's people that will only do stuff outside when it's cool weather. They don't want to do anything when it's hot, or it might be the other way around. That they only want to get out when in the summertime. They don't want to do anything in the winter or whatever. Just get used to it. I mean, enjoy the outside year round. If you'll only do it when it's warm, then you're really limiting, yourself to a lot of what you can see and experience just by, not being out there. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Good point. Doing so much work in the outdoors and with the training courses and all of that, what gear do you consider essential that you always take with you, whether you're just going for a hike or you're doing a training course, or just recommendations that you give to some of your class participants?
In a lot of the classes, I'll teach and pass on, what Dave Canterbury calls it, the 5 C's. You may have heard it. Anybody that does anything outdoors, you need to have a cutting tool. And several of these, it's not enough just to have one on you. You might want to have a backup. And so if you're going to be doing a lot outdoors, you might want to have a fixed blade knife and a folding knife, because if you break one or lose it, then you've got something to fall back on. Another C is combustion. Have a way to make fire. Have a couple of ways to make fire. Have a ferro rod. Have a lighter. Also just a big lighter. Don't carry them in the same place. Don't have all that in your pack. Just in case you lose your backpack or it falls in, out of the canoe in the river or something like that. Cordage, carry some form of string, paracord, bank line, anything like that. You might have to do some kind of gear repair, some kind of lashing, something. A container, something to transport water in. It's good if it's stainless or titanium, in case you have to purify water in it if you're out there for an extended time. And some form of cover, some form of waterproof barrier, like a tarp, lightweight backpacking tarp, or even like a large contractor-sized trash bag, something that you could, cut the seams and open up just if it came a downpour and you needed to stay dry. Or even with the trash bag, you cut a face hole and 2 armholes, and you've got a homemade poncho. And all of those can be recreated in nature, but it requires a very high level of skill, and a lot of it would take a long time to create. So it's better just to carry it, and that's what we teach in a lot of the bushcraft classes, where we're making cordage or we're making a container or something like that. Is if it doesn't teach you anything, it'll teach you to carry this stuff. Like with friction fire, if somebody's bow drilling or hand drilling and struggling for a long time, they will remember that it's great skill to know. It's not something you'd ever want to have to rely on.
Yeah.
So carry ways to make fire.
Yeah, that's a great point for sure. Let's do a pocket dump. What do you have in your pockets right now, as far as just basic everyday carry type?
I've always got the Victorinox Outrider. Usually carry some type of pocket knife, but this is one I've found. This is actually my second one. I used the other one so much that I had to retire it. The blade, the main blade was getting a little loose. I wanted the one with the biggest blade, the longest saw, and a pair of scissors. And my friend Ruben, another instructor, he is an expert when it comes to all the different Swiss Army knives, and that's the one he recommended. That, and I've always got cigarette lighter, just some way of making fire. Mm-hmm. That's, at a minimum, going to the store, going to town, going to a class or whatever, just a cutting tool and a way to make fire.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. Those are the two things
that's about it.
That we're not supposed to fly with when on an airplane, and the two most essentials.
Yeah. Just flew back from Idaho, and you really feel naked, when you don't have anything in your pocket.
Man, so. I hear that. Totally agree. Patrick, other than Essie, what other companies, gear brands, do you feel like are doing just a really good job of quality?
There's a lot of great stuff out there. Love Victorinox with the Swiss Army knives. Several of us on our search and rescue team, and other employees, just we get to use a lot of stuff, doing the classes, doing the trips, the training. Osprey backpacks, Osprey, makes a great backpack. Several of us have those. I've got a war bonnet hammock, that I've been on a lot of trips, both here in the States and down the Amazon. Big Agnes, mm-hmm. The tents. I've got one of their I think it's the Copper Spur tent that's been around the block. Yeah, lightweight, packs up small, and it's just tough. And I've used it, out there in Idaho. Also, a lot of great Black Diamond. There's tons of great companies out there that will use their stuff, and they seem to stand by them. Stand by their product, and it's just great when there's companies like that out there.
Yeah, for sure. Always looking for kind of the best quality, and my motto has always been quality over quantity, and buy once, cry once.
That's it, because it can get expensive.
Yeah, it can. Patrick, what book or books have had the biggest impact on your life over the years?
Probably the two that come to mind are Camping and Woodcraft by Horace Kephart. Mm-hmm. Came out, probably around 100 years ago. A lot of good information in it that's still true today. Like I mentioned earlier, this stuff isn't new. That people are getting out and practicing and doing and learning how to do. So we're having to relearn a lot of it, but just a lot of good information in that one. And also the book Bushcraft by Morris Kahansky. A lot of good information in there. James and I were fortunate enough to get up there in Karamat Wilderness, where Morris was teaching. Yeah. And in February of 2019, and we're able to take their class, their winter class up there, and that was the last class that Moores was a part of. He passed away not too long after that, and so it was a great experience getting up there, getting to meet him, getting to hear his stories, and Kelly Harleton is the lead instructor up there, so Kelly did the majority of the teaching. But just Moores was there the first day, and he came by on the last day, and just to listen to him talk and tell stories and stuff was just a great experience. And that book, brought it with me and got him to autograph it while I was up there, and it's just got a ton of good information in it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Do you have a favorite podcast that you listen to?
Listen to a lot of JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience, Meat Eaters with Steve Rinella. Listen to a lot of that. Started getting in listening to more like historical podcasts. I love learning about history and stuff like that. So can't remember the name of them, but there's a couple of Old West type podcasts, telling stories of different outlaws and different aspects of the Indian Wars and stuff like that. And I find that's real interesting.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you. Patrick, what is one piece of advice that you would give to our audience?
If there's anything that you're wanting to learn how to do, just get out there and do it. Research it. That's a lot of the stuff that we teach. There's videos out there. If you can watch videos, it's great to learn from an instructor. But when it came to friction fire and making fire with a bow drill, I spent probably 2 months watching videos, looking at it in books, and trying over and over and over every day until finally had success. And just you learn by doing. The way James and I teach it now, we're probably seeing 90 to 95% success rate because we're making it as easy as possible for these students to learn on their first attempt. They can always make it harder, and try to not use pre-prepared, material. Go out and find what you need, that kind of thing. But just get out and just keep trying it until you learn it.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. Thank you. Patrick, are you a hunter?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite species that you like to hunt? Favorite location?
Here in the Southeast, love, white-tailed deer. Just getting into turkey hunting. It's a lot more, turkey hunting can be a lot more aggravating. I told a friend of mine, if deer hunting was as aggravating as turkey hunting, I'd probably just hang it all up and not hunt anymore. But that's the main two, deer and turkey. We'll do some small game, squirrel and rabbits also, but for the most part, deer.
Got it. Super. Patrick, this has been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed chatting today. Where can people find out more about you and find you online and the company and all that fun stuff?
You can go to SEKnives.com, ESEE knives.com, or also randallsadventure.com. The SE Knives page, that's the gear, that's our page for the knives. The Randall's Adventure is for the training side, and you'll see, classes, schedule, frequently asked questions, just pictures from previous classes, and there's just a ton of information on there. There's downloads, a lot of our PowerPoints that we use in the classes, the full PowerPoints on the website, it's free to download. We're just trying to get the information out there. So, feel free to get on there and download it and look it over.
That's great. Thank you. And just real quick, I meant to ask this earlier and kind of slipped my mind. SE is all direct to consumer. You guys aren't in any retail stores, correct?
We sell to dealers, but it's we don't sell direct. You can't order straight from us. We sell to dealers because we don't want to compete with our own dealers. And that's why, like at Blade Show, people were getting a little aggravated because we had our knives there, but we don't sell direct to the customer. We sell to the dealers. And so we would send them to, Smoky Mountain Knife Works or Blade HQ. And once they ran out of our stock, that they brought, then the people were just, I can't buy it from you. And they're like, no, we're not set up to sell direct because we don't want to compete with our own dealers.
That's interesting, especially in this day and age with everything being online and stuff. So where so many things are direct to consumer. So that's interesting that you guys decided to go that route.
Now I think you can order a knife from us, from through the SE Knives page, but it's like an MSRP. And so it's a whole lot more expensive. Some people just want to buy from the source. And so we do have some in stock, in the office, but it's at MSRP, which is going to be a lot more than you'd pay, just shopping around online.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons that people would rather go direct to the source is because Amazon has made things so easy to purchase and you can just go there and buy it. However, you never know, is who I'm ordering from on Amazon, is that some type of weird reseller? Is it a Chinese knockoff? Or is it actually the company that is making and selling this? And so when you're going direct to the manufacturer or the brand itself, you kind of know what you're getting, if you've done your research. So I think there's a little bit of hesitancy there. And that's why, because people want to connect with companies that they know, like, and trust, and those brands that espouse quality, which you guys obviously do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I understand that. Several of our knives are starting to get knocked off, and you will find them on Amazon. Like I mentioned, the Azula being the most popular model. Well, it's also the one that's getting knocked off the most. So if anybody's looking on Amazon, looking at our products, and has any questions, whether they're authorized dealer or not, you can go to our webpage and see a list of authorized dealers. And if it's not on there, just shoot us an email. info@SE Knives, and somebody will get back with you and let you know if yes, they're a dealer for us, or if we've never heard of them.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're just allowing authorized dealers to sell on Amazon, but you're not doing that either.
Yeah, we're not selling direct to Amazon, but we do have a couple of dealers. I know Prime Valley used to be Tactical Intent, but they changed the name to Prime Valley. I know they're an authorized dealer of ours, and they do sell quite a bit on Amazon.
Got it. Well, this has been great, Patrick. Thanks for all the information. Thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it. And I think the audience is going to really get a lot of value here as well.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Rewild Gear Podcast. You can check out the show notes for today's episode at rewildgearpodcast.com. If you're ready to spend more time in the wild, our line of high-quality, minimalistic outdoor gear can help you do just that. Check us out at rewildgear.com.